I think about the second year of my engineering, I realized that some of the subjects like AI/ML, I thought that we were only scratching the surface in our bachelor's. I mean, a lot of people get so caught up with that one score. Oh, my score is not good enough, so maybe like I can't apply to the top universities. I don't think that's true. It helped me gain an intuition on the questions that were asked, and I got like a hang of what sort of question styles you can expect, how to approach these questions. So I would say as soon as you get your GRE out of the picture, that's when you start dedicating your time completely to this.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of IEEE Pune's podcast Beyond Conversations. On today's episode, our guest is Savani Suranglikar. Savani is currently pursuing an MS in Computer Science from UC San Diego. On today's episode, Savani offers deep insight into her preparation for her master's applications, right from selecting the best and most suitable universities, building a machine learning profile, how she wrote her college essays, do's and don'ts in college applications and referrals, and even expense management. Apart from MS preparations, Savani also speaks about life at UC San Diego, choosing and implementing the most impactful and amazing ML projects, and her experience as an attendee at the Grace Hopper Celebration 2023. Hello, Savani. It's great to have you as a guest on IEEE Pune's podcast Beyond Conversations. How are you doing today?
Hi Aditi, thank you so much for having me. I'm doing great.
So you're pursuing an MS in CS in UCSD, one of the premium institutions in the world. It's basically every tech student's dream to be studying in Southern California. It's also something that's very, very competitive. How did you make the decision that you wanted to pursue an MS, and what do you think are the first things any student should do when they make that decision?
Right. So I think I made this decision in my second year of engineering. So I did my undergrad from PICT, and I think about the second year of my engineering, I realized that some of the subjects like AI/ML, I thought that we were only scratching the surface in our bachelor's. So that's when I decided to sort of study these in more depth, and I started thinking about what can I possibly do in order to build my profile for my master. So I think the first step should be defining your goals properly. So try to understand what courses excite you, where your interests lie, and what is it that you want to study in much more depth. So I think having clear goals in the beginning is important as the first step, because I think that's something that's going to help you throughout the application process to have set academic and career goals for yourself. So I think I would start there. And if someone's having trouble, clearly defining them, because it can happen. I mean, it's just the first and second year of college. So, that's completely okay. But that's when I would say, like, try to observe where your interests lie, try taking up more courses, try exploring a little, maybe do projects or maybe internships, which would sort of help you decide what is it that you want to study further.
Right. So you would say chasing your curiosity is the first step towards, defining what your goal is. Right.
Yeah,
So
I think I'd
having
put it
said,
that way.
yeah. So having said that, what do you think is the first step, once you've made that decision, what is the first step? Do you start looking for universities, or do you build your profile first? How did you go about it?
Right. So the first thing that I personally thought about was prepping for the standardized tests like GRE, because I think that is something that is not as related to other things in your application. So it's not specific to the university that you're applying to or
Right.
anything.
Yeah.
It's just a preparation which is isolated from the entire process. So I think I personally went for that first. I thought that I'll get that out of the way. But parallelly, I think, researching universities and seeing how different programs out there are aligning to your goals, I think that's really important to carry out a good research beforehand. Because what happens is a lot of times we get so caught up in, okay, let me apply to the top 10 schools. So
Right,
it's
yeah.
not just that number. The college has to be an equally good a fit for you as you would be for that college. So
Right.
researching universities and trying to find out, okay, you know, do I see myself going to this place? And is it aligning with my long-term goals that I have for myself? So I think that's critical to evaluate beforehand, and which is why starting early it gives you that time and cushion to work towards your applications. Because keeping track of application deadlines is also another thing which is important, and you don't want to rush things in the end. You want to give yourself plenty of time since the beginning. So that I think, like, researching universities, looking at different programs that you're interested in, looking at the course structure, looking at maybe the program duration, and how it fits with your goals. I think that's something where I would start in the early stages of the application.
Right. So why did you specifically pick UCSD? And what were some other universities that you applied to?
Yeah. So I personally applied to about 10 schools. That's
Hmm.
mostly because I think I had applied for the fall 22 cycle, and that was just the post-COVID era. And I think around that time there was a lot of uncertainty about, okay, the process was a little changed. I mean, a few of the universities had waived off GRE. There were different admission requirements, and I think I wanted to be on the safer side, so I applied to a lot more number of schools. But I I think I got admits from four universities. So I got it from UCSD, USC, ASU, and UC Santa Barbara. So those were my four choices, and I picked UCSD out of that because I think the computer science program at UCSD was like ranked higher. Plus, I think it really aligned with the kind of work that I was interested in. Plus, it aligned with how I wanted to go about after my master's.
What do you want to go about after your master's, knowing that is again one more crucial step into, choosing the right fit for you. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
you spoke about building your profile earlier. So how did you build your profile? Is it something that you do consciously, or is it something that you just go after once you think, okay, I'm interested in ML? So you just naturally start doing those things, or is there a set process for building your profile?
So basically, the application process can be a little daunting. It can be a bit
Yeah.
tedious and time consuming for sure. But what you want to start with is first, like I said, try to understand what is it that you want to study. Then try to find relevant programs for that. What sort of programs that you want to target, what universities are out there, where you aim to go. And then maybe since that subject might be a little new to you, so what I personally did was I did a lot of like machine learning courses, and I happened to apply for internships during my undergraduate as well. So I did that. Then I also had my personal projects going on. All of this helped me to sort of gain some practical hands-on experience, as well as trying to get that exposure to research as well. And all of these small elements helped me in my application process. So trying to explore the field right in the beginning, I mean, when you're in your second or third year, you get plenty of time to do that. And all of these things sort of come together when you're applying to different universities. So I think with the application process, it's especially tricky because your profile is usually evaluated very holistically. So you want to perfect these little things that sort of come together and build your profile as a whole. So I wouldn't say there's one thing that you want to get started on. It's building it's a process. So I think the more excited you get about it and you try out new things, and then finally, the way you maybe craft your SOP, you sort of bring all of these things together. So the process is mainly by taking these one by one, seeing how they fit with your goals, seeing how they can be, written about in your application essays, or, getting great letters of recommendation while you're doing these projects or internships. I think that's also super helpful for your application. So I think it's a process of like 1 or 2 years.
I again feel like a lot of students that I see around me, when they think they're going to pursue an MS, the first thing on their brains is the GRE, and that they think is the ultimate goal, whereas they tend to forget all of these surrounding things that they need to build a
Absolutely.
holistic application. So, what do you think? How did your internships help you to, build your application, and how did you pursue your internships while doing all of these other things simultaneously?
Yeah, so I would say internships really help you in getting that practical hands-on experience. And I personally used it for my letters of recommendation as well. So I got a chance to intern at an AIML startup. It was a German-based startup, and I was working remotely for them. And I think the things that I got to learn during that internship explored new possibilities for me because I discovered new interests within machine learning. So my project was specifically in the field of computer vision. So that was the first time that I was trying my hands at it. So it was like a new experience for me, and that sort of led me to pursue another internship in computer vision after that. So I built my profile accordingly. Secondly, I managed to get a great letter of recommendation from the CEO of that startup. So I think that
Okay.
also benefited my application in a way. So I know like there are great research opportunities at labs as well in India. So or even like universities abroad, they give you summer internships in their labs. So that's also a great experience, and getting academic letters of recommendation hold great value. So all of these things will sort of help you to discover your interests, build your profile, and tailor it to a particular field that you're interested in, so that you can demonstrate a clear goal to the
Right.
application review team that okay, maybe you're interested in this, and then you justify it by stating all of these examples of the internships and projects you've done. So I think that's super helpful. Plus, the letters of recommendation will help you a great deal.
When in your academic journey did you take the GRE? How much time did you dedicate to studying for the GRE? And when do you think is the ideal time that you should be taking it?
Right. So with the GRE, like you rightly stated, I mean, a lot of people get so caught up with that one score. Oh, my score is not good enough, so maybe like I can't apply to the top universities. I don't think that's true, because GRE, like you said, is just one part of your application. And I feel that it's very isolated from the other components on your application. Everything sort of is interlinked to each other. But GRE is something which is a standardized test, and you have to go through that, and it's the
Right.
same for all universities.
Yeah.
So I personally preferred to get it done before I dove straight into other important parts of my application.
Mhm.
So I took it. I would recommend that if you plan to move for your master's right after graduating from your bachelor's, which is what
Mhm.
I did. So in that case, I think about your sixth semester, like third year end,
Yeah.
that would be like a good time to take
Ideal
the
time.
GRE, so that
Mhm.
you have time after that to focus on other things where you will have to put in more work.
How many months did you spend preparing for the GRE? Did you like spend an isolated months where you were like, okay, this is the only thing I'm gonna focus on? What was your approach towards it?
Yeah, I kind of took that approach because I thought that let's focus on the GRE right now and get it
Mhm.
done, and then go back to other pressing things. So I would say about 3 to 4 months should be sufficient. With GRE, the thing is you can always reschedule your dates. You can pick
Yeah.
any date you want. So
Yeah.
students at times waste a lot of time just, rescheduling these dates, thinking that, oh, I would prepare better, and then probably like keep pushing it. So I think that you should have a hard stop on when you want to take the GRE. Just book the date and work backwards. Just finish your preparation in 3 to 4 months and just give it. Don't like prolong it way too much, because it's going to take up a lot of your critical time in the entire application process.
And then again, there's the debate of whether you should be, purchasing services for study abroad, whether you should be going to classes for the GRE, or you should be studying on your own. Did you face this dilemma at any time, and how did you face it?
Oh, absolutely. I did. I was also told the same things. So I did join a class for GRE, and it helped
Mhm.
me gain an intuition on the questions that were asked, and I got like a hang of what sort of question styles you can expect, how to approach these questions. But apart from that, I feel that it's mostly something that you need to prepare on your own. It'll definitely, classes will give you that intuition, but the work that you have to put in, I think it can be done without a class as well. So I personally recommend, so there are a lot of vocabulary questions on the GRE, so those are easier to score in, which is
Right,
why
yeah.
I would recommend, like, there are Magoosh flashcards available, which really help. I mean, you just practice them whenever you get time through your courses or whatever. And apart from this, there are other materials out there you can purchase. Maybe Magoosh Premium was also a good
Mhm.
resource for the lectures and like just to get an idea of the different topics that are sort of covered. But again, I think also sticking to the official GRE material that is released by ETS, that also helps. Plus, looking at their sample tests and giving mock tests helped me a great deal to sort of get that timed preparation. I think that's
Right.
critical to appear before you give the GRE, because time
Yeah.
is a factor which is especially difficult to navigate in the GRE. So, getting some practice beforehand will surely help you at the time of GRE when there's a lot of pressure while you're giving the exam.
Now that we've spoken about the GRE, let's go back to SOPs and making these applications. So, when is the ideal time to start your applications? I know it's dependent on the universities that you're applying for, but then again, what do you think? When should you start, looking at all of these things in your fourth year or towards the end of your third year? And how do you write the perfect SOP? I think that a lot of students in India are a little bit daunted by that because we're not used to bearing our soul in terms of
Yeah.
writing. We can study hard for tests and we can prepare days and nights to answer mathematical and quantitative questions and maybe do a lot of DSA, but to write is a completely different story.
Yeah, I understand. So to answer your first question, where what is the ideal time to start working on the different components of your application? So I would say
Mhm.
as soon as you get your GRE out of the picture, that's when you start dedicating your time completely to this. So there are a
Mhm.
lot of components that need to be worked on since the beginning. So you want to make sure you're leaving yourself enough time. So if say you're taking your GRE in by March or April, I would say like start looking at universities after that. It's okay. You can start as early as March or as late as maybe July, August. I think you should really start by then in case you haven't. But I think that's an ideal time to start. But again, it depends from person to person. Highly subjective, but still. And to answer your other question, which is the SOP, how to craft an SOP. So I actually have a lot of things to say over here.
Right.
I feel that the SOP is a process. I think I personally, when I started working on my SOP, I remember a day when I was sitting and I was clueless. I didn't know what to write. I had all
Right.
of these list of projects and experiences that I'd written down. Okay, this is like everything that I know about myself. But how do I weave this into a story was where I was stuck. I was like, I don't
Exactly.
know. I don't know how to go ahead with this. And I think it took me a while, a lot of brainstorming, but I think it's something that needs to be inward. A lot of people go out and look at example SOPs and
Right.
talk to
Yeah.
people. And I'm sure I'm sure that that's very inspiring at times and helps you. But I feel it's more inward because your story is your story. It's unique,
It's
and
true.
that's what's going to help you stand out from everyone else who's applying to that university. You need to have your personally crafted story, and no one's going to have the same experiences as you. So this is your chance to truly shine. And what happens is, I've like a lot of students have spoken to me about this, that they don't know how to sort of connect their experiences. They feel that a lot of their experiences are similar to other aspiring students, especially
Yeah.
let's say CS. So a lot of them have like machine learning internships at companies and research papers. So how to stand out is something that I've heard from a lot of people. So I think here's when the story writing comes into picture. So what you want to do is you want to take an experience and make it seem like it would be the obvious next choice in your career or in your academic trajectory. So I think that's important to the way you write it plays a very important role in this. You could have a
Right.
ton of
Yeah.
different dots and you need to connect them somehow and give a flow to your entire life. Talk about what inspired you. I personally went from bottom up. A lot of people start with, okay, why I want to go to this, why am I applying to this program, and then go backward. But I
Yeah.
started from scratch. That was just a personal choice that, okay, what inspired me to pursue computer science? I started from there. And I gave them like an entire flow of all the things that I've done and why I did what I did. And it's important to not just describe your experiences that, okay, I did this, I did that. Great. That doesn't tell me anything about you. I can see that probably on your resume. So this is
Right.
your
Yeah.
chance to get descriptive. Really, because what the admission panel is trying to understand is who you are as a person. And this is your chance to really shine through in that. So I'll just give you an example here. I think one of the connections that I'd made between two things was basically in my undergrad in PICT, I was working in TEDx PICT, a club,
Right.
and we had invited a speaker who was
Mhm.
the founder of visually impaired children. In like about 3,000 of them, they had like a beautiful
Okay.
NGO for that, and we got a chance to interact with all the students, and it was amazing. And parallelly, what happened is I was working on this eye disease classification research
Mhm.
project. And that was not the plan, but I sort of connected the
Yeah.
two. And
Yeah.
I said that, I was inspired and which is why I ended up doing this. They were sort of happening simultaneously, but that really like created a different impact. It gave it a different turn. So I think that's something that you can try to do. Connect to experiences, talk about what inspired you to do something that you've mentioned on your resume. And even while describing your internship experiences, it's important to talk about what your contribution was there in that, not just the stuff that you worked on, the skills that you gained. Of course, that's necessary, but talk
Right.
about your contribution, what impact you created, and what you learned from it. So I think that SOP is the only qualitative document that you get to submit, and it should be a process. It should be crafted so well that you make an impression with that statement of purpose. Oh, another thing that I want to add here, I think, which is very critical, is that
Mhm.
making sure that your SOP is tailored to the university that you're applying to.
Right.
Because what happens is a lot of times people just create this generic
Mhm.
SOP,
And
generalized
send it
SOP
everywhere.
rather than generic. Yeah. And send it to all the universities, maybe changing a paragraph in the end or something. But I would recommend to get as personalized as possible because it tells them that you took the time to actually go through the university website and really understand what the program looks like. So one
Right.
thing that I would recommend doing is, so say you have a list of experiences and projects, you might want to find some sort of link to some
Mhm.
of the research or something that is going on in the university. You might want to say, hey, I worked on this and I'm really curious about this. And I happen to look at Professor X's work at this lab and I would love to work in that. So I think
Right.
that really helps to build that sort of link and that
Mhm.
justifies somewhere why you're applying to this program. And I think that should help you like give an edge over other applicants. I
Right.
know it can be daunting because there might be a lot of universities that you're applying to.
Yeah.
Even I applied to 10 schools. So it can be a little daunting. So there is some part of your SOP that sort of stays constant, the stuff about
Mhm.
you. But then you need to understand what that university values or, what the program truly adds value to and what are the career outcomes after you get that degree. So if you align a few parts of your SOP to that, then that's going to definitely add value.
Because this is all going on in your fourth year, while there is also, one daunting project to look at, while there are also placement drives. Do you think that if you're deciding to pursue an MS abroad, do you think you should completely ditch the placements, or do you think it's something that can be managed?
I personally did not. I did appear for placements. I had to I did get a job, but I didn't really put in the time to prepare for placements because I think if you've decided to go for your master's, unless you want to be safe and you want to have some job in hand, which I completely understand, then you might want to appear for placements in case something changes, something goes wrong, and you're not able to go. But apart from that, I feel I think you kind of need to decide which of the two you're going to give more time to because you're going to be in this process and it's important that you give all of your time to this. So prioritize. I think that's something that can be done.
You have three research papers published in really amazing international publications like IEEE. How did you decide to pursue research? How did you pick your topics? And how do you initiate a research process?
Right. I think this was something which was very daunting for me in my second year because I had the same question. I didn't know where to start. I knew I wanted to do it, but yeah, you often don't know where to start. So one thing that I learned was that writing a research paper, I confused it with maybe coming up with something groundbreaking or something novel. This is like my misconception, which I had in my second year, and that's when I had approached a few professors at PICT, where they told me that that's not how it works. So with a research paper, basically there is an underlying problem that you're curious about. There is some research question that you have to come up with. You look at, okay, what is the existing work related to this field around me right now? Look at that, identify some gap, and then contribute to the field in some way. So it doesn't need to be something novel. That's one thing that was there for me at least. And how you want to go about it is, I would say, reach out to professors, take their guidance because a lot of them have guided so many research papers. So I'm sure you'll get some help there. There are professors who are willing to guide you for a project and potentially help you with a publication. So your undergrad should really support you with that. And I would recommend going up and talking to professors about this. With respect to the problem that you're interested in, you can look up different sorts of papers that are out there on Google Scholar. Look at the kind of work that's going on and maybe a problem that you're interested. And if you see a potential there, then you can try thinking about some solution for that. Or that's when I think it's a process, and you can look at the different templates that are there for research paper. Research paper writing is also something that you can quickly pick up. That's not a problem. At times, what I've also done is converted some project that I was working on into a research paper. So you can also do that. That's also a route to take. So, yeah, but like initially going up to your professors and just asking for help, I think they'll be able to guide you greatly. Maybe there's some ongoing research work that you could hop on to and start working there. I think that's a good way to start.
Again, you're studying at UCSD now. How is that experience for you? How do you think it's molded and shaped you?
Oh, my experience at UCSD has been great so far. So, out of the schools that I applied, this was one of my dream schools. And being able to get an admit here itself was, I remember, something that too important to me. And after coming here, I have gotten great exposure to, I think, world-class teaching. The professors here are working on some really cool stuff or have like immense amount of knowledge in the fields that I'm interested in, which is like pertaining to AI/ML. So I think teaching wise, I think I've gained a lot of intuition on different subjects, and that really helped me. Secondly, I would say the peers here, you're studying along with some of the brightest minds. So that really helps you to grow professionally as well as like it sort of builds your personality in a well-rounded manner. I think that really helped me. San Diego is beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful cities in the US, and being so close to the beaches, and it's surreal. Like that part also is absolutely beautiful, the weather and like all of it. But yeah, overall, I think my experience has been great. A lot of the courses here are, I would say, a tad bit towards a theoretical approach. So you would see that a lot. There is some like excellent research going on over here, and you have great funding opportunities. You can just go up to a professor and like show your enthusiasm to work on a project, and I'm sure like there would be people to help you out with that. So great research opportunities, great funding opportunities. You get a teaching assistantship, a research assistantship, which is really helpful to cover your expenses if that's something that's a concern. But yeah, overall, it's been great so far.
I come to understand that living abroad is a dream come true for many people, but there are also some anxieties associated with it. What do you think is something that's difficult for you now that you've moved away from home, and how have you overcome it?
So with respect to the expenses, I think it can be especially California schools. They can get a tad bit expensive. So
California itself.
yeah, living here it's pretty expensive. I'll give that to you for sure. I mean, the first few months I was just converting dollar to rupees and trying to like, and I was shocked by the prices. And I think like it's a rite of passage. Everyone goes through that. But I think in terms of the change, I would say over here the education system is very different. It's more assignment focused, more project focused, rather than an exam oriented approach, which I was used to back in India, where you kind of like want to excel in your exams and then probably good, or maybe like a final project or something. But
Yeah.
over here, it's less of classes and more of your self work. So you would have classes maybe twice or thrice a week. That's it. And
Okay.
the rest of the time goes into working on assignments, which are maybe weekly, bi-weekly, depending on whatever you're
Okay.
taking. But I think it's critical to manage your time well. I think that's an important skill that I learned after moving here is managing my personal time well. No one's setting timelines for you that, okay, you have to be in the college from 8 to 3 and then you do something like that. It's not the case over here. You have to manage your personal time and make sure you're getting things done, working beforehand. Secondly, another important skill to have over here that you develop is networking. I think that's something that we're not very used to in India because you don't do that a lot in the initial stages of your career, especially when there are placement opportunities. You sort of just focus on that interview preparation, get that job, and then probably get into these things later. But over here, it's a lot. It needs to come from you. You have to seek companies, you have to seek recruiters, and do everything like on your own. You have to really actively apply and be very proactive. And having the ability to network with recruiters, to talk to people, to meet with people who are, working at a similar thing that you want to get into, that really opens up I think that broadens your knowledge, it broadens your horizons in a way, and really helps you to grow professionally and also get potential opportunities to work at maybe companies that you want to like get an interview call or of some sort. So that's also an important skill that you learn here.
So, while looking for study abroad, were you also looking at some scholarships? Do you think there are any scholarships that are specifically catered to a female audience? And please go ahead and speak about your experience of GHC and the scholarship that you earned there.
Yeah, okay. So I did apply to the Grace Hopper Conference Scholarship. This is this is like a worldwide scholarship. I'm sure a lot of people must be aware of it, but it's mainly to support women in STEM careers, especially female students. And you need to be a student enrolled in some program to be able to apply for this. And I think it was an amazing experience. I think like you get to talk to these women who are in these STEM fields and who are like these powerful women who are like, out there doing what you aspire to. And it's very inspiring. You build a lot of great connections. You possibly meet like potential recruiters, which might help you in getting an internship or a job. I think that's super critical. And the networking really helps you in that. And yeah, I think it's really important because females are often underrepresented in the STEM field, and having such scholarships. GHC is one, there is the Tapia conference, and there are a bunch of them out there which are there to support you and help you grow. So I think like we should try and make use of them as much as possible. So I applied for this scholarship early summer of this year, about in March or so. And yeah, I did get a scholarship for this. This is like a global conference. So even if you are doing your undergraduate in India or somewhere else, you can still apply to this and get the benefit of this scholarship.
While parting, I'd like to have your last two bits of advice for students who are looking at study abroad. What are things that they should, keep in mind while going through this process?
I would mainly say that like focus on what is it that you want to do. Pick a university according to that and tailor your application and stand out in some way. Just be yourself when you're applying to these universities, and I'm sure like you're going to get great admits and hopefully like reach all your goals and dreams.
Right. Thank you so much, Savani, for lending us your precious time and giving us all of this insight into study abroad. Thanks for being on our show.
Thank you for having me here. This was great. It was great talking to you, and I hope that I'm of some help to anyone who's aspiring to study abroad. I know it can be a little daunting.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode. If you found it valuable, I kindly ask you to share it with others who may benefit from it. I highly recommend subscribing to our channel and exploring our other podcasts, all designed to support the student community. Additionally, make sure to visit the description for important links that will connect you with us. We look forward to seeing you again soon. Wishing you a wonderful day ahead.